As a teacher, the way that things have changed primarily since I was a student to today are a lot of different ways. The biggest change I think that I have seen has been the way that we utilize technology in the classroom, and that has changed our entire world. And so that has changed so many different facets of the profession and how we do school.
Good question to ponder is how have things changed from the time I've been younger and growing up in the church until today. I'm a baby boomer. I'm kind of right in the middle of that. From 1946 to 1964, I believe, is the window, and I was born in 1955, so right in the middle. And I remember growing up in an environment where our worship to God meant dressing up. My parents told me if we were going to meet with the President of the United States, we would dress up. It's a special occasion, so we dress up for God. And so I did that, and I understood early on that that was part of my worship to God, was dressing up and going in a more formal way.
I feel my generation is different because we have something that no generation before us has had. We have social media, we have technology, and we basically just have the whole world on our fingertips or cell phones. So.
Our generation is completely different in ways of technology and in linguistics. Like we have social media, we have color TV, we have telephones, we have the internet, like all of this wide range of networking. And then we have linguistics, meaning like our language has changed over the generations. And then just our attitudes on life in general because of like how many things we've been blessed with. So like the younger generations tend to take things more for granted than the older.
How is our generation different? I would say that Generation X, that our generation is different based on our communication. We are very diverse and different from generations before, which we're not on a one-on-one, I would say. We're more like through social media, through emails, through text messages. So I feel like we are very indirect when we communicate. We don't even do phone calls. You know, many times it's more, if I need you to do something, I'll just email you or text you rather than, write a letter or actually come visit you. So I feel like our way of communication has evolved, but it's a little bit more efficient, I would say also.
Well, being a teacher, some advice that I would give other people of my generation would be to just be open-minded. I very, very often when I'm in the community and talking to people, or when I meet people for the first time and I tell them what I do, they are shocked and they say, "You deal with teenagers? What? Like, how can you work with them? They're so disrespectful." And so I always remind people that people will treat you the way you allow them to treat you, number one. Most teenagers are not extremely disrespectful, and that you need to be open-minded to try to understand their generation. When we were teenagers, our parents' generation probably felt the same way about us. And so you just have to try to be open-minded and think about the world that they live in, because it's very different from the world that we grew up in. And understand that they have something to contribute and teach you.
What could I learn from the older generation? I would say that's their hunger and their drive. That's something I always tried to learn. They were very endurable, and what's the word I'm looking for? Perseverance. No matter what happened. I mean, when you hear what the older generation went through, they just were very passionate about what they wanted and didn't allow, stumbling blocks to defer them for what they wanted. And I feel like, that's something that I can learn. Like a lot of the things that we have now have been by people, blood, sweat, and tears, working hard for us to have the benefits we have now today. And I would think something they could learn from us is just, I know a lot of older generations like, well, we do everything with finesse, with a little bit of swag maybe. But I think we're more into like, enjoying what we're doing also while getting the job done. And I think that's something they can learn from us, having fun and enjoying the moment of success. And I think that's what we should learn from each other.
If we're going to really address the question, how do we make this work? We have to address the question of, well, what do we need to do? What do the older folks have to do? What do the younger folks have to do? What do the people who are kind of in the middle have to do? And the short of it is, get to know each other. Just find some intentional ways to get to know each other.
One thing we can learn from the older generation is the value in traditions and hard work and just value in everyday things that we take for granted, that we've always had from since we were raised as kids to now, that they never had, that they see a high value in that we don't see.
I think just like coming together and like talking, so like whether it's just talking to your parents or your grandparents and just talking about like our differences, and then like coming together like for solutions, I guess, and then also just learning from each other, because we're not going to be able to do anything unless we learn from each other.
Well, any final remarks would primarily be summed up by saying, I think it's important for us to just learn each other. And I think if we can just remain open-minded and know that we all have something to give in this world, no matter what our age is, that we'd be a lot better off.